Hello guys, my name is Bonaventure Chukudi. I'm the founder of Bonarine Tech Hub, a tech company that teaches people how to code and build software for clients. So today we'll be looking at CSS backgrounds, then CSS borders, CSS margins, CSS padding, CSS height, and CSS width. Okay, so we'll be looking at these things now. So first of all, let's create a new folder. Let's call it whatever. I'll call it CSS. So we'll go to desktop and create. So we can just first CSS. We call it second CSS. Second CSS. So this is the folder we'll be working on. So to generate our to start doing this, we have to first of all create HTML file index.html. So so we are going to inside here we're going to generate our boilerplates like this, and then we create a file, call it style.css. Then we link the style.css like this, link link css. So you can write whatever name. So let's assume we have a folder here. We call it CSS like this, or call it styles, like the style sheets or styles. So we call it styles, and inside the styles we have something like one.css tc. So we can just come here like this instead of just writing style.css and go over to the page styles, then one.css. Understand that? So it's about so you can actually do this. It's still right. So you start with a dot. So if it's deeply nested, you start with double dot. So that is just the thing. So but now we are going to just deal on use style.css. So I'm going to delete this, get rid of this, right? Move to right recycle. Now so once we've generated our boilerplate, we just call it second second CSS and save. Now in this place we are going to learn everything about backgrounds, right? We are going to start with backgrounds. So when I'm talking about background, how it looks on the background. So we start by creating a div. Let's give it a name, class backgrounds. Understand that? Backgrounds. So if you notice there's nothing here, but we can put a text. See like this. Let's view this in a web browser. Open with live server, and this is it. So if you notice there's nothing here, it has no styling, it's just like this. Now we can come over here to style.css and style. We can select this class, this division like backgrounds, and just give it backgrounds or whatever. I can call it container, whatever name you want to call backgrounds. Okay, this is it. This is how you select it, backgrounds. Then this is a style like I've mentioned earlier. So backgrounds, in case you haven't followed before, you can check the playlist. You will see my tutorial about using selectors. So we have the first and foremost one is the background color. It gives color to the background. So if we can give background color of red, it's red, and save, it gives it a background color as you can see. Okay, so you can use hex, something like red, RGB, something like FF00, and save. This is yellow, you see. So you can give whatever background color you want to give. Now there is the next one is background image. Now the background image uses image URLs. So we don't have an image at the moment. So let me go grab an image. So let's say this is the image here. I want to make use of this image. So let me just take this and keep here. Then open my VS Code and let's just keep it this way. I drag this image and keep here. Understand that this is the image. So let me rename it. Let me call it h image. Let me call it image.html.jpg. So this is the image HTML, right? Now we can come over here. Let's just comment this out and say, you notice there's nothing here, right? So we can use the background image like this. Background image. So there are a lot of options here. So you can put linear gradient, you can put radial gradient, you can put so many of them. You see, you can use linear gradients like you combine colors. You understand that you combine color, you can say something like red, blue. You see, you can combine colors, red, blue, like this. You can even put yellow. You know, that's what linear gradient does. So we can have used to combine colors. You can even set the how you want it to be. Okay, so if you want it to be let's say 45%, and say let's say okay, if you want it to use kind of syntax something like 45%, let's see if it's going to work out. I think this is wrong. You um just give me a second, let me confirm how it's you know how you can add skipped my memory, how you can add percentage to linear gradient. You see, the linear gradient background on CSS, most of the time when you are coding, there's a big chance that you can forget. So your best bet is just to browse the internet, use the internet. Okay. So linear gradient can go from up, can go from up, down, right, left, diagonal. Okay. So I've put the color. This is these are the colors, right? So we can put a direction, something like something from like to left to right, etc. Understand that? So we can put 45 instead of 45%. I put 45% earlier. Instead of 45%, should be 45 degrees. You see, it's going to position it this way. So even if you don't want to use something like this, like putting 45 degree, 90 degrees, 235 degrees, etc. You can use something like from left. You see, from left. Let's try it to right, or such kind of things to right. Yeah, such, you see, something like this. So but it is better you just use the degree you want to specify whatever you want to specify. Now aside from using linear gradient, we can make use of another type called um, conic gradient. You understand that? So there is a conic gradient and there is a radial gradient. So background background image. So let's see, background image. You can have a radial gradient. When we're talking about radial gradient, it's like in circles, in circles. That is just the thing. Radial gradient. So if you set red, okay, let's just comment this out and set it to default. So if you have red, you have yellow. Notice what is going to happen. You see, the red starts from the center. Okay, let's add a degree, something like 45 degree, and see what's going to happen. It doesn't. So it doesn't use the same syntax as the doesn't use the same syntax as the linear gradient. Okay, so add your to add your colors and so on and so forth, you can actually put the shape size. Okay, you can actually put the shape size instead and not just putting it like the linear gradient. So you can do red. Okay, if you save this now, notice the red is a little bit, so you can do red 100%. Once you do 100%, it's the red occupies everywhere. So you can use this to toggle, let's say 40%, 40%. It's like this. So you can set this as let's say 32%, and you see how it is, right? That is it. So that's how radial gradient works. Then let's look at conic gradients. So there's conic gradient, background color, background image. I meant to say background image. We have conic conic gradient. So though most of these things are not frequently used, but it's just nice if you know them. So we have conic gradient. So to specify your conic gradient, just conic gradient, conic gradient like this. So you have this. So let's say red, yellow, and so you see how it is, right? So you can actually specify the degrees just like in linear gradients. Let's say 24 degree. See, right? And this is let's say 67 degrees. So that is just how it works. Okay. So and that's how you use conic gradients. So and let's go over to background image of URL, but when you want to put a URL, so you put a link to an image here. It can be an image you get from the internet. You just paste the link here, and it's going to be applied here. But here we are making use of the image we have on our computer, which is what we have put here in this file. So to use this image, you can just do this, select the image and save. So once we save the image, you notice the image has been applied here. So the image is actually kind of orange. It has been applied here. So what do? We come over to use some other stuff like background size. So let's set background size, which is used, you just use, if you hover on it, it tells you specify the size of the background. So we can put it auto, contain, or cover. Let's try contain, cover. You see, it doesn't really put it together, but if you put contain, it's going to contain the whole thing. And if you notice, it appears a lot of times, right? So to prevent it from appearing a lot of times, you use background repeat. So background repeat has takes in inherit, initial, no repeat, repeat x, repeat y, round space, etc. So we can use no repeat to make it not to repeat any. And you see how it is, right? Now, if you notice, the image doesn't cover everywhere again. Reason is because of the content. So if you set it to cover, right? Set it to cover, it's going to cover everywhere. And if you set it to contain, it's going to be for only here. Now, we can add a background position. See, add background position, and you can put whatever position you want to put, like have bottom, initial, left, right. Let's set it to center. It puts it to center. You understand that? Now we have background clip, background clip. Background clip can take in border box, content box, etc. And let's set it to border box, and you see it uses the border. So the next one is background attachment. Background attachment. So background attachment is used to control the where the background is, whether it's going to scroll. So if you put it to fixed, If you put it to fixed, background attachment fixed, it's going to be fixed and it moves away from the, the viewport. So if you put it to scroll, it's going to be here, right? Now, one thing again, if you put it to fix, you want it to just be at a portion and not move at all. So, and we have background origin, etc. Have background origin. We used to tell it where it's going to start from and not. So border box, we have background, we have background. Then yeah, that's just it. Background position, background position. Tell it where it's going to start from, wherever you want it to start from. You can tell it to start from the right or from the left. You see, the background position. Okay, we have it. We've specified that already. Now I'm going to set this to set the background size to cover. Set it to cover. Now because of this background position, if you notice, see, because of the background position, it shows the image. At least it shows what's inside the image. The text that's inside it cleverly shows the text that's inside the image. So now this is it for backgrounds. Now if you want to specify all these things at once, so you can just let's remove this. So you can just do background and you specify everything. So it goes in the order like this. You can go from if you notice what's happening here. See, so this is the options for linear gradient, right? This is the options for background attachment. So it comes first. So you can say scroll. You can say scroll. So you can put whatever image you want to put. Put an image here, like image. So let's just comment this out and take a look at it. So we can put an image here and save. It shows the image, right? Now this is called the shorthand. Now you can do the repeat, no repeat, no repeat, right? Save, doesn't repeat it. Then we can add the center, save, standard. Then we can add the border box, etc. We add the scroll. Okay, so the shorthand, let me specify the shorthand. So the shorthand is it starts from the shorthand starts from the okay background color. This is the background color, something like red background color red. Then background image. Then repeat and the position. So this is how it goes and not others like this. So this is how it goes. Understand that? So and so on and so forth. Now this is all for background. Let's look at border. Now before we look at border, let's look at border. Now when we're talking about border, to specify your border, you can use a shorthand or you can just do it straight like we've done here. But you start with border style. So your border style can be dashed like this, or it can be dotted like this. It can be double like this. It can be groove like this. It can be hidden. Yeah, it can be hidden. I don't know why we want to hide it, but it can be hidden. It can inherit, etc. It can insert. You see, it can outset like this. Then it can have solid like this. Then it can etc can have a lot of things. Okay, the ones I mentioned now. So let's look at the most popular one, solid. Just try solid. Now, if you notice, only specifying the background, the border style has already styled it already. It has a default and it uses it has a default background border width. So let's say the border width. You don't want it to be this thick. Border width. So you want it to be 5 pixels like this, and it becomes thicker. So you want it to be 1 pixel, come like this. So let's try 5 pixels. Now we have and mind you, you can combine different styles. You can like this, you can combine different styles and it has no issue. So now we have a border width 5 pixel. We have border color. You can change the border color, border color, and have red. Save. Then we can have border size. See, when I mean border size, I mean like border right. You see, border right, etc. So border top color, border top right. So let's just use one as an example. So border top width, border top width. So let's set it at 15 pixel to be way bigger than others. You can see, right? So you can set border top color, border top right, border top color. So you can set it as yellow or blue like this. Understand that? So now there's something again. If you don't want to specify this one, I mean this, you can actually use a shorthand and do something like border. Then you set the size, the color, let's say yellow, and then the solid like this. Okay, so or like this. You can actually increase this. See, it works. Now there's something again aside from border like this. We have border radius. We have, you can set it like 10 pixels etc. You see, now you can set it 10%. If you want it to be rounded, you can just use 50%. Understand that it will be rounded. Let's say let's just look at height, so on and so forth. So let's say we set a height to this, a height of let's say 100 pixel, and we set a width, of 100 pixels. So this is the width. If you notice, it's rounded. The border radius is rounded. This is how to make round or cycles in CSS using the height and width and the border radius like this. So we let's take a look at the margins. Let's remove this and take a look at margins. Now with border we can actually debug and then look at our code to know exactly what we are styling. So let's give it a padding of let's just give it a border so we understand what's going on here. Now we want to set a margin. We want to apply margin to our code. So we can have margin top. So margin top is like the space it gives outside the container. Outside the container. So if you set margin top of 10 pixels and save, let's give it 100 pixels so you notice and save. You see, it gives it a space above here, up here. Now, if you give it so that is it. So we can have margin bottom, margin bottom. In this case, it won't have any effect because we don't have anything here. Then you can have margin right, margin left, 100 pixels. You see, you can have margin right, margin right, 100 pixels. You see, looks it so. On the margin, it has a short handle. Instead of specifying all these things at once, you can just do this margin. Then for top, you can say 100, top and bottom 100 pixels, left and right, and 20 pixels for left and right, and save. That is it. That is, they have equal margin, an equal margin if you had other elements here. So if you set another one here, let's say 200 pixels, it's going to be for the bottom. Understand? If you set 300 pixels here, 400 pixels, it's going to be for the top. Then this will be for the bottom. Understand that? Now, that is how it works. It gives it for, it styles for the bottom and the top. Now, this is it. Even if you specify margin and you want to still specify separately a margin bottom or whatever margin top, you can still do that. Now, padding actually works like margin, but instead of giving a space outside, it gives the space inside the element. Okay, so let's look at padding. So padding, let's look at padding top. So padding top, let's use something like 10 pixels. Okay, so you mustn't use pixels though. You can use rem. Understand? Rem and m. See, so let's say we use 1 rem. Essentially, 1 rem is equal to 16 pixels. So you use 1 rem. You see, it pushes it from the top. So you can have, and it's inside the container, not outside, unlike margin top. Now we can have padding. We can have padding left. Let's say 2 rem. It pushes it from the left. You can have padding right. Pushes it from the right. See, it's still inside the container. You can have a padding bottom. See, you can have padding bottom. You can have padding bottom 2 rem, and it pushes it from the ground. That's simple as that. So guys, before I go, let's just look at I just mentioned height and width, right? So height and width. So height and width is used to set height and width on every element. So height and width. So you can just set the height. So let's say 500 pixels. See the height, right? Then with something like 300 pixels. This is the width and the height. Now there's something again. Aside from setting 100 pixels and the rest, you can use percent, something like 10%. So 10% of the container where the 10% of the container where you're setting the height like this. Understand that? If you can use 20%, etc. Then you can use view height. So or you can use rem, you can use m, etc. So the same thing applies to width. You can do the same thing to width. You can use percent. You can use let's just set this to 100%. It works. And there's something else. As if you don't want to specify this, you can use fit content. You see, fit content. Use the fit content inline size or fit content block size as appropriate. So you said it fits it. You can use max content of height, max content. You can use main content, etc. So hey guys, so this is the end of today's tutorial. Um, that is it, and tomorrow we continue. And make sure if you enjoy this, hit the subscribe button, hit the like icon, and don't ever forget to subscribe. Okay, so thank you guys, and see you.